I seem to be more and more putting a sense of reverence in places like this, which in the past I never thought I would. Obviously, I'm not a Christian, although I've recently written about my growing appreciation of Christianity and of religion and faith in general, which I never thought I'd say. I never thought that I would come out here on a Saturday and be here sitting on the steps of a church, just talking about appreciating these little pockets. Again, I really am I'm focusing on this. I spoke about it in my last video, Prisons and Kites, part two of the new series that I'm doing, in which I get more hands on with nature. There's of course a lot of overlap here, but I thought I'd talk more in depth about this strange feeling of awarding a certain high status to places like this, like churches and various other religious sites. It's strange on two levels. The first one is, as I said, I'm not Christian. I can't envisage myself ever being a Christian. But as well, and this is the main point I want to talk about, we have, if we are interested in architecture and nature, that we have very few options. And I don't just mean that in the sense of we have to go to these little pockets, these little churches in the midst of bustling towns or even cities. It relates to something that I believe I mentioned in my religion and nature video when I first started doing these vlogs. It's the idea of specificity. The fact that everything, of course, is tied to culture. You may be able to hear the organ music in the background. And I find it strange that what aligns most of all with my appreciation of nature and architecture and fantastical literature is Christianity, is, well, other religions, but I guess culturally for me it would be Christianity. In the West, of course. I find it wholly strange that the thing that is closest to a reverence of the past, a reverence of nature, is Christianity. I think the issue for me is that I'm fully aware that obviously Christianity and other religions, by necessity, by the very nature, they can't be divested of the customs and traditions and the iconography and the symbolism. It's a strange thing that I should have to. The only thing is this. It's almost as if it's almost as if it's faceless nature, or there is Christianity. I think what it is the tension between knowing that certain symbols and customs and traditions are very much limiting in a sense, but also they're the best of what. You almost have to take them on if you want to appreciate the past and nature and whatnot. Because I would rather this, of course, than New York Times Square or Tokyo or wherever it might be. As I've said before, the world-denying aspect of advertisements and corporate offices, and I think that really is what it comes down to. I've always appreciated anything that extols worldliness. I think, although I used to revel in being almost anti-religion, now I see that I actually very much appreciate teleology and purpose and meaning, and wanting for there to be a kind of a grand narrative. It's just any building really that it's almost like a world within a world, and that reminds me very much of Foucault's heterotopias. And even if I disagree with Foucault on a variety of things, his concept of heterotopias is very useful. This idea of a place that is in contrast, that reflects the world, the status of the world, of society, but is in some way outside of it. I think what I really take issue with is the fact that certain people just want to destroy what's been built. For example, there are obviously famous statues that have been toppled recently, in recent times, especially British figures, because they happen to have connections with slavery and whatnot. But as Lindy Beige says, just because someone's done something bad doesn't necessarily mean that you need to topple the whole thing. It's a case of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. If someone did something for the benefit of society, certainly that can outweigh the one or two negative things that they did. I'm aware more and more recently that my thoughts align with, people hate this term, but small c conservatism, and it's as good a fit as I can find at the moment. Although I'm well aware of the pitfalls. It's just this erasure of culture and history. It's just a sad thing. This idea that everything needs to be dismantled and deconstructed. So this next thing is something that I wasn't going to mention, but being out here, being moved, kind of brings it up. With the way the world is right now, being closer than we ever have been to nuclear Armageddon, I'm not sure why no one is really speaking about the loss of culture, the loss of... It's actually hard to put into words because it's everything, isn't it? I think more and more, as I say in my tradition video, Tradition and Destruction, I'm more aware that I'm more aware of my own framing of things as a kind of a story. The idea that everything can be lost in an instant because a megalomaniac wants a tiny bit more land on a planet that we all share. It's beyond words, it's beyond anger, it's beyond anything. It's the idea of someone haphazardly, willingly pressing the nuclear button and destroying people's lives, everyone's goals and passions and whatnot. Obviously, it just is. What I find strange about that, however, is that even in the back of my mind as I say it, there's this feeling of perhaps I sound a bit naive or a bit idealistic or a bit sentimental, but I don't see why that should be the case, why I should even have to think that. Because it's the end of the world, it's the end of all culture and striving. I don't feel like my bringing it up should make me feel like I'm overreacting or being a bit sentimental. It's the most important thing. Because this is just one place. But there are so many other. Just the British Museum. Think of how much is stored there. Thousands upon thousands of years of history, and of art and science and everything else. And that's just one building, one institution in England. I keep attempting to find suitable and fitting closing remarks for this video, but really it's just a continuation of my other videos. I just wish that other people could have these similar experiences, to be able to just come out here on a very nice sunny day and just be where I am, really.